What is disappointment and where does it come from? Well, if you just break the word down, disappoint. Disappoint, it literally means to miss an appointment. It's to miss an appointment. It's you set an appointment in some way, shape, or how that thing didn't come to pass. So disappointment is unmet expectation, unfulfilled desire. Something didn't work out the way you thought it was going to be. And so most disappointment comes from simply unmet expectations. Like, this is your expectation, this is what happens, and this is your level of disappointment. Like, this is what you expect your spouse is going to do, this is what your spouse does, this is your level of disappointment. Or, like, this is what you expect your job is going to be like, and this is what your job is really like. And so, this is the level of disappointment. You set an appointment, and it doesn't take place. This is the gap of disappointment, right? Disappointment can also come from a lack of control, when you feel like you can't change something or make it happen, and it also comes from consequences of sin. Sin will always destroy the things that we love. And what's interesting about disappointment is the spectrum of disappointment you can have. Like, you can be disappointed in a meal you had. You could be disappointed you had to wait in traffic, or you missed your flight. You could be disappointed that it was cold this morning. Like just this week, one of my kids was disappointed that the tooth fairy didn't come, and I was told he even had 2 business days to make it happen. So what's up with that, kind of thing? And so you can be disappointed with that. You can be disappointed with some more serious stuff, like something someone says to you or something somebody did to you. And then there's the real stuff. Like, you can be disappointed that your spouse has left you. You can be disappointed in chronic health issues. You can be disappointed in a super broken circumstance. The truth is that disappointment is a part of life. The question is not, will disappointment come? The question is how will you handle it when it does? And however you handle disappointment will determine the quality of your life and the condition of your heart, because a disappointed heart will always live a defeated life. It is literally impossible to walk in victory with a disappointed heart. In fact, I would say to you, unresolved disappointment will lead to an unfulfilled destiny. If we don't learn how to handle disappointment in a godly way, we'll never step into the abundant life that God has for us. In fact, what I'm trying to tell you is basically this. Satan wants to steal your destiny, but he doesn't have the authority to do that. So what he will do is he will try to disappoint you to the place where you give up on your own destiny. Satan doesn't have the authority to steal your destiny, but he will try to disappoint you to the place where you give up on your own destiny. Like, he wants to steal your hope. So Proverbs 13:12 says, a hope deferred makes the heart sick. In other words, when things don't work out the way that we think they should, we lose our hope. And when we lose our hope, we end up with a sick heart. And a sick heart doesn't have the strength to, by faith, step into the future that God has for them. And a lot of us have a sick heart, and we're not even aware of it. You see, I don't think we lose our hope from the tsunami effect, like a big crisis thing that happens in our life, a big tsunami takes you over. I don't think we lose our hope from that. That disorients us and we can come back. I think we lose our hope from wave after wave after wave after wave after wave of disappointment that rolls into our lives. Like the waves of the ocean, they just keep coming in, disappointment one after another, and eventually it erodes our hope. Every time you go to the doctors, you get the same bad doctor's report and diagnosis. It's that marriage problem that hasn't gone away in more than 20 years. It's setback after setback after setback. It's the breakthrough that never comes. It's the list of unanswered prayers that feel like they keep growing. It's wave after wave after wave of disappointment that erodes our hope. But what you have to understand is that hope never dies. We just lose sight of it. In fact, hope can't die because hope is a person and his name is Jesus, and he already defeated death. So it cannot die. The problem is we get focused on the temporary instead of the eternal. We get focused on the physical instead of the spiritual. And what I want you to understand is hope is not hoping the weather will be nice today. It's not hoping that you're going to win the lottery. Hope is the confident expectation of good. It's the belief in the goodness of God in the midst of our unmet expectations and pain, even when we can't see it, even when we can't feel it. You see, hope is not anchored in the things of this world. Hope is anchored in the character of God. That's why it never fails. Romans 5:8 says, and hope does not disappoint us. See if you can catch this with me. Heavenly hope and earthly disappointment cannot coexist. That's why it says this hope does not disappoint us. Heavenly hope and earthly disappointment cannot coexist because they sit on the same place in your heart. So what hope does is it drives out disappointment, but we can allow disappointment to drive out hope. They sit in the same place in your heart. You see, disappointment is meant to be a temporary emotion, not a permanent perspective. Hope is meant to be a permanent perspective, not a temporary emotion. And if you look at hope through disappointment, you will always be disappointed. But if you look at disappointment through hope, you will always be filled with hope. And any place in your life where you have allowed disappointment to replace hope is a place where you're believing a lie. It's a place where you've become in agreement with the kingdom of darkness. You see, disappointment becomes defeat the moment you no longer confidently expect good in any area of your life. So here's the question. Where have you lost your hope? Where are you chronically disappointed? Where do your thoughts and your feelings and emotions, where have they come into agreement with the hopelessness of darkness? You see, when we're disappointed, we just want to fix it. We just want it over. We just want it resolved. Maybe we need to change our perspective of the purpose of what disappointment is really all about. You see, disappointment is really just a test. It's a test to expose and reveal and heal what's broken inside of us. We want to fix it, but God wants to free us. And so what God will do is he wants to free you from any misplaced trust in your life. God will confront any area in your life where your hope is anchored in anything but him. And it's easy to pass a test when you know it's coming. The question is, can you pass the test that you're not expecting? And so when we go through this series and we talk about disappointment, here's what I just want to tell you up front. Like the goal for me in this series is not just to make you feel better, is to not fix your disappointment. I want us to have a different perspective. I want us to understand that finding hope in the midst of disappointment is your pathway to your destiny. Like if you're ever going to get from where you are to where God is leading you, you're going to have to go through some disappointment without losing your hope. That's why unresolved disappointment will lead to an unfulfilled destiny, because if you're going to get from here to there, you're going to have to cross through some valleys of disappointment without letting it steal your hope.